couch and may have taken a kind of short nap. That's why I was a couple of minutes late. And then I have Lemmy, the cat, kind of sitting right here on my lap. Let's see, I can maybe show you. He'll probably be upside down. He decided he wanted to be here and in the way too, so he's gonna be hanging out with us today. But that should be okay. He's doing pretty good, just hanging out and sitting in my lap. So, we've got all of that. Let me go ahead and catch up on some of the chat, because it looks like we've been pretty active in the chat. I also want to say hello, everybody, and happy Invertober. Today is a Wednesday, and we are going live with an ink line drawing. We're going to be getting one of my sketches from pretty early, because I think it's kind of more fun when I'm picking sketches that are older that maybe not everyone has seen. I think that's kind of fun. Ooh, let's do the cicada. So, I was just going through and looking at some of my old sketches, so let's put it on. Alright, I was going through and looking at some of my old sketches, and we could totally do the cicada from the top. I know that the wing venation isn't all correct, but I did get the wing venation down pretty well, I think. The other one I was considering... Well, I did the mantis fly. Ooh. The assassin bug could be a lot of fun, too, to go ahead and outline. Or the tortoise beetle. Oh, he's pretty cute. Or our cockroach. So, we've looked at a handful of different sketches now. We looked at the cockroach, the cicada. We kind of flipped through the book a little bit. I'm actually looking at this cockroach here, thinking that it would look really nice in ink, with these tibial spines and these wings. I think that this actually would be a lot of fun. So, I'm thinking this guy right here. So I'm so sorry that I was so late. I'm checking out our chat. Alright. Yeah, I'm glad that we chatted with each other while we were waiting for me. I'm so sorry that I was a little bit late. Oh, we wanted to ask about the tarot yesterday. Tarot, I think, went really well yesterday. We stayed up until about midnight talking about all of the different cards. We covered a good number of the, we covered the swords, which were the flies, and then a handful of the major arcana we went over. So that was a lot of fun, if you want to go and check that out. Aw, hi, Lemmy. No, the walking stick was a previous session. Yes. So when we are looking at the ink line drawings on Wednesdays and Fridays, what a lot of time is on Wednesdays and Fridays, a lot of times what we do, instead of drawing a new sketch, we pick an old pencil sketch that we've done, and we go over it in ink. And we can talk about it as we are looking at it. And I'm thinking I'm going to do this cockroach. I have its species is Supella longipelpa, so I'm curious. I'm not sure exactly. Okay, so this was an adult banded roach. And that's why its wings are kind of short. That makes sense. So this is a female. In our brown banded cockroaches, which is this Supella longipelpa, the females are generally going to have kind of these shorter, stubbier wings that don't go all the way full length on the abdomen, whereas the males are going to have long, full length wings. So that's going to be one of our differences here. There is a weird tiny wood cockroach in my hotel right now, says Marley. Alright, I'm not sure what to say about that. If you haven't taken a picture of it or sketched an image of it, we actually, also may be able to identify it for you. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and put Supella longipelpa. That's going to be our species name for this cockroach right here. And when we're looking at it from the top, when we're looking at it dorsally, this plate here is not the head. This is actually the pronotum, and it's expanded kind of up and forward so that it kind of protects the head, in fact. So some people say that the pronotum is the shield that guards the head. But so when I'm originally kind of showing people cockroaches, what I'll tell them is you have to actually practically flip a cockroach upside down to be able to see things like its head, its mouth parts, where the antenna connect, all of those things you kind of have to see the bottom side of the cockroach for. But what I can do is give us the outline and talk about our pronotum here. If you were to flip this cockroach upside down, you would see its kind of longer face, and then it has chewing mouth parts at the base, kind of like the chewing mouth parts of a beetle or an ant. That's what they look like. There is also a really cool dipteran. It has really long legs with white tips. Interesting. Long legs with white tips. What state are you in again? Are you in California? That sounds like a really awesome fly. So we've got this first leg taken care of here. If you haven't been here for our sketches in the past, insect legs are broken down very similar to the human bone structure, in fact. So this first segment here is essentially between its hip and its knee, and this is what we call the femur. This section here is essentially between its knee and its ankle, and we call this the tibia, just like a human's tibia bone. And then these at the very end, we call those tarsal segments. And so, if we wanted to... femur, if we wanted to write all of those down, that would look like this. Femur, and then tibia, and then tarsi. It was holding one leg out in front of its face, and it looked like a proboscis. Okay, so, I might know what that is then. So if you were looking at a fly that was holding its legs, its front two legs, kind of up forward in front of it rather than its legs on the ground. That's generally the stance of what we call a midge. Midges also have plumose antenna like a fly has. So their antenna essentially look like, I told somebody recently it kind of looks like a toilet brush because the bristles go in all directions from the stalk. But mosquitoes are going to hold their back legs up rather than midges. Midges actually hold their front legs up. And sometimes their front legs are held up so high that it actually almost looks like their front legs are kind of mimicking antenna. It's kind of funny. So my pen line wasn't exactly super accurate here. I strayed a little bit from the line and wasn't happy with it, so I came backwards. That's definitely going to be an ink line that I'm probably going to have to get rid of digitally if I'm keeping this one in my book. Oopsies, just a little bit. But we've got our pronotum. These right here are what we call tegmina. So in cockroaches and grasshoppers and praying mantids, their first pair of wings that's kind of leathery and hard, but it's not as hard as like an elytra of a beetle. This is what we call tegmina, and we call them, instead of hard wings shells, we just say they're kind of leathery. They're mobile, they open, but they're still mostly for protection of the membranous wings underneath. And that's what we're going to call these wings up here, because they are solid. You can't really see through them. And they also don't really have any wing venations. Alright? They're mostly this protective shell. Are you suggesting functional adults are not obsessed with bugs? I don't know what you mean by that. Could you zoom out for just a minute, Trisha, so we can see the whole bug? Ah! Yes, I was going to try. Here. Because my camera, let me see, I'll just move my camera a little bit further away from the image. See if I can get it high enough. We'll get there. So close. Bloop, bloop, bloop. There, now I'm little. All right, Marley is in El Coca, Ecuador, next to a national park. And if Marley is actually in Ecuador, then I don't have an idea of the fly he is seeing, because I'm pretty familiar with dipteran and North American insects, but once you get outside of the country in places like Ecuador, I definitely would have to see the insect before I identify it, because there are so many oddballs out there, and if it's something that if it was a place I had been before, I could probably give you an idea, but I unfortunately have never been to Ecuador yet. Avea wants to know what the prettiest cockroach is, in my opinion. And I do believe there are pretty cockroaches out there. I want to turn just like this so that I can sketch again, or align this. Now, I definitely believe that there are pretty cockroaches out there. I admit that I'm partial to... I kind of love the domino cockroaches. I kind of love the domino cockroaches. They are black with white spots. They're native to India. And they're actually mimicking the six-spotted ground beetle, and that's why they kind of don't even look like cockroaches, because they're beetle mimics. And I think that those guys are pretty adorable. But there are other cockroaches that I have seen that I don't even know what their common names would be. And these roaches, there are roaches that are kind of like metallic green and metallic blue. Any of the really pretty metallic cockroaches, I think that those are also absolutely stunning. Didn't seem like a midge. It was almost an inch long. Alright, well, because it's Ecuador, I'm not sure. I think you would notice the plumose antenna. That's true. Yeah, if it had those big plumose antenna and you were looking at it, it would be something that you noticed. And so since you didn't like say it right off the bat, my guess is that they had the basic aristate or the fly antenna, which are kind of short and stubby sausage-like antenna with like individual hairs. So they probably had that, and then it's a fly I've never seen before, which doesn't surprise me. Ages ago, I asked Stephanie to please help me love cockroaches more. She introduced me to a Simondoan cave cockroach. Oh, yes! Domino cockroaches, I said, for sure. They are black with white spots. I believe their genus is Pedivariana. Torreya Pedivariana or something. Let me look it up. Just to... Yeah. I got it right. Gotta capitalize this one. So this is the scientific name of the domino cockroach that I was just talking about. It is black with white spots. They are actually pretty adorable. I kind of love them. And they are little beetle mimics. You can also find them with orange spots, and there's another species that they call a question mark roach. And some of the spots on its back are combined, and it looks like it has question marks on its back rather than 6 spots, which I thought was super cute. And I think that you're totally right. The Simondoan cave cockroach is another one of those cockroaches that is absolutely gorgeous. I'm left-handed, so I like to have kind of my paper at the right angle. I wonder if I left it here and maybe I turned my... I don't think that's going to work. I thought I might be able to turn my camera, but... And so right here at the end of our abdomen, we have something that are called cerci. These are multi-segmented sensory organs on the end of the abdomen of our cockroach. Now, all cockroaches have cerci. In fact, cockroaches, because they're closely related to grasshoppers and crickets and praying mantids, all of those animals, grasshoppers, crickets, praying mantids, cockroaches, they all have cerci. So that is something fun to note. mostly taken care of. I've sketched out my legs and my Cersei. I want to get these really long, beautiful antennae done in ink, and then we'll be able to do the best part, which is go over the entire thing with an eraser and clean up all the lines. It's one of my favorite parts when I'm doing ink. I will draw the domino ones, then the metallic green ones. Oh, beautiful. I saw a butterfly 2 days ago with the craziest plumose butt. I don't even know where I would start with that, with the identification of that. Marley, are you on iNaturalist? Do you post the images that you take of butterflies and insects somewhere that I can see? Because I would love to see some of your images of the insects you're seeing. So if there's a place that you're putting them and identifying them, I would love to see that. Alright, let me get this. I feel like the antennae take a lot of focus because they're very long and it's one individual straight line. So trying to make sure that you are using like full motions and that the connection is going to be easy to make when you start the next one is a little bit more difficult. There, that's better. We're sliding. Oh, it's so pretty. All right, and then our final line for our antenna here. Oh, no. I had a little bit of eraser dust underneath my paper, I think, from yesterday. Alrighty. I think I have everywhere on him all taken care of. So let's go ahead and throw this eraser on him and see what he looks like. I want to see it. This line right here might not be totally straight. I'm going to fix it right now. There. And you know what? I think that this line here was actually because the pronotum was a little bit, was kind of a little bit see-through. So you could see the kind of this connection here. And I want to kind of give it a darker region here. I like that. There's a couple of places where I think the ink is just a little bit, lighter, where I think I'm going to have to go back in, especially right in this region here was super light. Oh, that's something I forgot. I was just looking here, and I was going to come in and erase the legs. And you know what? I almost forgot to add the tibial spines and the tibial spurs as part of an ink. And so right here, on our femur, we've got the femur, but then we've got this tibia right here. And our tibia is going to have these kind of really long spines that are all the way down the length of the outside, both on the middle and on the hind leg. And this is going to be something that cockroaches regularly have. They have these kind of, we call them tibial spines. And then they also have, will have the spurs, which are right here at the bottom of the tibia. So I wanted to make sure I didn't forget that. In cockroaches, that's actually going to be one of their defensive mechanisms. So if you go to pick up a cockroach and it starts kicking at you with its back legs, that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to kind of stab you with its hind legs because it's got these spines here. And most cockroaches, when they're trying to use their little tibial spines, they're not actually going to hurt anybody. They don't generally break skin or poke you at all. It just feels like there's an insect kicking you. But there are certain species of cockroaches that have kind of stronger spines. And you're going to laugh at me, but when I was in college, I was holding Madagascar hissers, and I had a Madagascar hisser that kicked me so hard with a tibial spur that it actually left a piece of its leg kind of in between my skin and my nail here. It kicked me in just the right soft spot that it kind of left a little, like, insect sliver next to my nail bed. And that's one example, like, I don't think I'll ever forget that. But it was kind of crazy that he gave me a sliver. So I guess the other thing is that these spines break off. I think he's actually looking pretty good. Aw, look how cute he is. His little head's tucked in. I'm way behind on iNaturalist, but he posts them there. Yes! So I will have to go ahead and check out your iNaturalist so that I can see some of your sketches. I understand being behind because admittedly not all of my guys are in iNaturalist, but admittedly I try as often as I can. My buck moths I'm surveying have the most amazing orange floof on their butts. Surface area to volume ratio for chemical spread. So I'm not sure if the plumes on the abdomen would be for pheromone spread, because you're saying that the plumes on the abdomen are also there on the males and not on the females. So generally in those big moths, the females are the ones that are releasing the pheromones, and the males are the ones that are kind of picking up the pheromones and kind of chasing down or trying to find the ladies, right? If you do know that it is the males that have the floof, my guess is that it wouldn't be for spreading pheromone, but another purpose. Although, I don't have a better answer for you, so I can't say, oh no, it's not that, it's this, right? Because I don't have a better one for you. I'm looking at a number of insect sketches, trying to figure out which one I wanted to go ahead and sketch with you. And I was thinking, so we went ahead and we did the cockroach, and she was really cool. But I want to get another one in that gives us a little bit of diversity. So I was thinking maybe we do this scarab here. We do the glorious jewel scarab. No spines on the front legs. No, the hind legs and the middle legs are going to be primarily the ones that are spined because they're the ones that are kicking backwards in defense. She may have very, very small, thin spines on her front legs, but they are not as pronounced or as large as the ones on the middle and the hind legs. So if you wanted, you could give her kind of very small. They don't even have a lot of width to them. They're just kind of these little spikes, almost hair-like, on the front leg. So if you wanted, you can kind of give yourself a couple of those. But most of your spines are going to be on the middle and the hind legs. They're so very fluffy. That's really cool. And oops, not fluffy, cetos. See, we're learning. We're getting all the scientific words. Yes, cetos is our scientific word for fluffy. Now, Chrysina gloriosa, I almost feel like I can't just do a class where I sketch our friend here without actually showing you this specimen, because Chrysina gloriosa is absolutely a beautiful, beautiful beetle. And I'm not sure that if it's in this terrarium or if it's actually it might still be in my collection. So, yep, it's in my collection. I'm going to be back in 2 seconds. I'm going to pull this beetle out of my collection so that you can see it. Alright, so these are all Chrysina species, which means they are all in the same genus of Chrysina. But then we have 4 different species here. And this is actually every species in North America in this little box here. I'm actually pretty proud of this display. I have to, put some labels on it a little bit, but it's pretty awesome. These 2 up here are from our wood-eye. Then you've got Bayer-eye with the purple legs, LeContii, but then these shiny ones in the center, those are the glorious jewel scarab. We call them Chrysina gloriosa, and this is the one that we actually sketched together. So they're green, and they have these silver stripes on their elytra. And so when we sketched it, we sketched the green, and then the silver stripes are here. And I thought maybe if everything would load and be great, I could come over here and we possibly can see our friend underneath the microscope. Let's see if everything is going to behave. So I'll admit that my sketch doesn't come close to showing how absolutely beautiful and amazing this beetle is. I love this very metallic coloration to it, and looking back on my sketch, I almost want to kind of lengthen. I want to take the edges here and kind of lengthen them and flatten them a little bit. But I think when I was sketching this, the head, I actually pointed it up so that we could see some of these mouth parts that I was pointing out to the students. Now, this sketch, I actually realized this after I pulled it out. This sketch in particular, I actually did with students on OutSchool. So this one is one you guys haven't seen before in my YouTube channel, and we had been talking about that. I have a number of sketches that we could go over in ink that you haven't seen before because I was doing them with other classes and other groups. Are those beetles related to the 10-line June beetle? I sketched one, and it has a similar shape and stripy pattern on the elytra. Yes, they are. I would consider them closely related to the 10-line June beetle. They are both scarabs. All right, so they are in the family Scarabaeidae. And scarabaeids are, I kind of love that there are 3 vowels all in the row, and you pronounce each one of them. So when you're pronouncing it, it's scarabaeid. And that's kind of fun. There's all types of subfamilies in scarabaeids. Like there are flower scarabs and June beetles and flower beetles and dung beetles and rhinoceros beetles. There's all types of different types of scarab beetles. But 10-line June beetles, yes. And glorious 10-line jewel 10-line June beetles and glorious jewel scarabs are in the same family of insects. And they have very similar antennae. We're not going to be able to see it super well there on the microscope, but I'll show you really quick. If I switch over to my table camera and we zoom in just a little bit, at the end of their antenna, they have this 3-segmented club that can kind of open and close here at the end. And if you were looking at the 10-line June beetle's antenna, they have those antennae that open and close at the end, and they've got kind of muscles inside that they can kind of open it up and feel around. Those are antennae that are also really awesome, and those are seen in scarabs. Yes, it huffs at you, for sure. The 10 lines, they kind of have this ability to stridulate, kind of. So they'll take they'll take their abdomen and they'll kind of push air in and out of it, and then they'll use kind of this little scrapey piece on the top of their abdomen to scrape against the bottom of their elytra. And they make this, we call it a stridulation. It's kind of like a squeaky, scratchy noise. So I had a couple of chats. Somebody mentioned that they enjoyed that I pinned a couple of them with their legs out. So this one up here, that one's actually done pretty well. That's Carcina bayeri with its legs out. Admittedly, I try to tuck all of the legs nowadays. This was actually back in the day when I was spreading them for display. I try to make my specimens more museum quality specimens rather than display specimens, just so that they have a little bit of a longer life. But I also love when, the legs are sitting naturally, because I can kind of imagine what that looks like in my head, but it's a lot easier to describe and show people when the legs are sitting exactly where we want them to be. Yay! I think I finally caught up with all of the chat happening over there. So, I'm actually going to leave this glorious jewel scarab microscope image over here while we're sketching, while I'm inking together, because I think it's beautiful. Now, Cracina gloriosa is one of those beetles that you can find in the American Southwest, Arizona, New Mexico. A lot of times you find them in what they call the Sky Islands. And it's a series of canyons in the desert where you kind of go up in elevation, and then you get to a place where you get to one of the canyons. I don't know, they're really hard to describe. You've got like Gardner Canyon, which is a good one, or you can go to, I'm not remembering my names of my canyons over in Arizona. How did that happen? Madeira is the other one I was trying to think of. Madeira Canyon is also really well known for insect collecting, and you can find these beetles there. Madeira Canyon also has campgrounds that you can find. So that's convenient. iNaturalist is saying the fluffy butt is a Phaetus sphinx. I'm gonna look it up really quick, because I'm curious too now. Oh! I get it. Yeah! So I have always thought of that. Made it look a little bit more like a bird. Made it look almost a little bit more like a hummingbird. I do wonder what the purpose of that fluffy butt at the end is. If anybody knows or Googles it and figures it out, let us know what the purpose of the abdominal floof is. Alright, I'm going to be coming into my friend, this glorious jewel scarab, and I'm going to be starting to do some of these ink lining. Our compound eyes are large, but they also have this little sliver of metallic green exoskeleton inside of them. So it's interesting because they've got this huge compound eyes, but then they do have a little piece that is essentially a part of their head. Now, I will admit, so, like, a sketch like this, was done in my scientific illustration class. This class is only a 45-minute class. So, when I'm sketching with you, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes we go for an hour and a half to 2 hours. This was a sketch that was done in approximately 45 minutes. So the details may be a little bit less, but I generally think we got it pretty good. This first segment of our antenna is the scape. Then we have the pedicel and then the flagellum, which has all of these other subsequent pieces. My jewel scarab has a 3-segmented club that has the ability to open and close. And having a clubbed antenna that has the ability to open and close is another one of those characteristics of scarab beetles. So a lot of times when I say a scarab, people go, oh my goodness, we have scarabs in the United States? And then they automatically think that I'm talking about some flesh-eating beetle from Egypt. I'm here to tell you that those don't exist. Alright, if you've ever seen, I don't know, I believe it was in like Lost Ark or one of the Tomb Raiders movies where there's like flesh-eating dung beetles or something that are the size of people's heads and they eat people. That's not a thing. If you need to hear that, the dung beetles in Egypt may be large, but they are not large enough to eat people. Alright, and there may be flesh-eating beetles, but those would be beetles that are only eating kind of after you have died. They're not going to be kind of attacking living humans. And so, movies are the worst for nature education. I have to agree, Marley, and you know what? I regularly hear that from people. They think that there are big man-eating scarab beetles in Egypt. And so if you needed to hear that, I'm here to tell you. We have seen insects like dermestid beetles, and those are little beetles that will feed on the exoskeletons of dead insects even. And so I believe we even saw a live dermestid grub recently on one of my live streams that's actually no good. I had to put that collection in the freezer to help protect the specimens, because they were infested with our little dermestid not friends. If they're eating my specimens, we're not friends. Alright, so I have a handful of you here with me today. I've got Marley and Susan and Deb, and we have a couple more. And I know that most of us are based out of California. But I'm not sure, because California is a really huge state. So I was looking at California today and wondering about if there was a region that we were all from. And if it was possible that it was like, if you guys were from like Southern California in like the Los Angeles area. So I guess that's my question to you, ladies and gentlemen. How many of you are from like the Los Angeles area? Or would be willing to share with me like what state you're in? Or what city you're in? Alright, so I've got these legs taken care of. The tibia also have these fairly large spines, and you'll notice they have these kind of scoop-like areas in our tibia here and here. Here's Terry. Here and here. These beetles do dig into the ground, so my guess would be that those are mostly for digging. Their pupal cells are underground, and they have to dig up to the surface as an adult. They're also going to be laying their eggs on rotting wood because their grubs are going to be feeding on fallen juniper trees mostly. Yeah, so people are really still scared of that silly scarab beetle, and so Scorpion King isn't real either. No, sorry guys, Scorpion King isn't real either. And you know what? There was actually, at MSU where I went to school for my undergraduate, they had an insects in film class, where once a week they would get together and they would watch a new bad insect, like a bad old-timey insect film, and they would do a review on the similarities and the differences to real insects. And it was actually a really it was like a really thought-provoking class. I didn't end up taking it, but I had a good number of friends who did, and they would tell me all about it. Grew up in Santa Clarita. Oh, now in New York, in Chicago, Central, San Fran. Santa Maria. Let me look. There is a reason why I'm asking. There is definitely a reason why I'm asking. I had somebody reach out to me from California recently. I believe it was essentially from a nature center just north of Los Angeles, and they wanted an insect program at their nature center. And there was a part of me that thought that if I could get a couple of programs all about in the same time, like one after another out there in California, it would almost be worth making a trip out there. It would be in April, so I have a little bit of time to kind of think about it and you know, think about it and figure out logistics and stuff. But I have been thinking about it. And I wanted to kind of think about it out loud with you guys, because I was curious if I was out in the Los Angeles region doing buggy programs, if there were places that you knew of that I should reach out to, or if, we could do some bug hikes. It would be so much fun. So I'm going to go ahead and move our glorious jewel scarab specimen Misty, what are you doing? I'm moving our specimen up just a little bit so that we can see the back of its elytra and the coloration along along the elytra, kind of in that striping. And then you can see over here to the side, some of these features in the legs where you've got these tibial spines on the edges here and here, and then these are our tarsal segments. Look how pretty the tarsi are. They're so shiny. Look at how shiny. You know what this beetle reminds me of is the underwater crab. Is he a crab? The crab in Moana that sings shiny. You know, that's what he reminds me of. So it sounds like there are some fiery spots down there too. It's good to know where you guys are, though. All right, so I have three silver lines, vertical silver lines along each of the elytra. The central line does split and turn into a Y right here between where the second and third pair of legs would kind of combine on the other side. These lines don't have to be totally straight because they can be regularly irregular. Haha. I love that phrase. Thank you for sharing it with me. So our first line is split like this where it has a Y. The second one is generally a pretty solid silver stripe, but the third one you'll notice, even if we look over here at the microscope image, I'll just focus up just a little bit, that silver stripe is not complete. It's kind of like patchy. It has little sections that exist and little sections that don't. So I have this like patchy line that I can sketch in here. For our third silver line, and then just trying to make sure that our sketches are as symmetrical as possible. Although our friend is probably not exactly the same on the left and the right. Yep, no. So you can definitely see, especially on the third line, where the one on the left is a little more complete than the one on the right. So there is going to be a natural variation in the patchiness or completeness of these lines, but they're all going to have generally the same shape, where the center one is a Y, the middle one is straight, and the outside one is a little more patchy. Alright, let me go ahead and switch over. We're going to switch over to the table camera so you can see it complete. So we are looking at our head, our pronotum, our elytra here, and this little dot here, that's our little scutellum. It sits in between the front pair of wings. Femur, tibia, and the little itty bitty tarsi. Some of this structuring and spines on our tibia. Our tibia also has, it looks like a tibial spur, but this one is actually mobile. There's a joint at the bottom of it. I'm not sure what the purpose is. And then up here at the front, we've got these antennae that open and close at the end. I believe they are called lamellate antennae. And I know you guys like all of the scientific words, so let me get, yes. These antennae right here are called lamellate antennae. Let me go ahead and get my vocab word up. Not the arrow, the vocab word. Alright, so that's what these are called. They're called lamellate antennae, and if you've ever seen antenna types like this that kind of open and close at the end, that's the name for all of like those type of antenna. So they have these muscles within the antenna that help them kind of open them and close them. 10 lines June beetles have beautiful, beautiful antenna. And you know what? I might have a pretty good microscope image of that. Give me a second. I think I have an image of the 10-line antenna. So I never know which pictures to upload because I'm never sure where our conversation is going to take us. So I always super appreciate when you give me just an extra moment to show you something cool. Like this. So this is the antenna of a 10-line June beetle. And we can see here that those antenna pieces are very kind of open, and you can see each piece individually. When that 10-line June beetle's antenna closes together, they have the ability, kind of like those are little pieces of paper, they'll just stack right on top of each other. And they can look like one individual piece. But then when their antennae are open and looking around, they'll kind of open them like that for better sensory. So each piece is actually an extension of a segment. Yeah, so each piece is essentially its own segment. And when we zoom in, all right, we could zoom in further. Let's do it. Let's see. So when we zoom in at the base, we're just going to go over top of me for a minute. When we zoom in at the base here, oh, put me up here. Ah, I'm back. We can see this segment right here that's right behind my head. This is what we call the scape. This one would be our second antennal segment, so this is the pedicel. And the rest of these antennal segments we consider the flagellum. This would be one here. And then the second segment, you can see they're kind of like cupped together. You could almost imagine these individually like kind of wavy spoons. Each one of the spoon parts, or the scoopy ends, are right here, and they're kind of stacked together and flailing open. But at any moment, they could stack right up against each other and look like they are all one. Alrighty, so I think we've got our glorious jewel scarab all inked out, and it's ready to be erased to see what the characters look like. Oh, his mouth is really cool. I'm excited about that looking. I don't know about you, but there's something really satisfying about erasing all of the pencil. Alright, let's give it a nice clean sweep. Oh, right here. It looks like I forgot to give some of these spines in here, and those just kind of got erased away, but I'm going to go back in and add them because they are pretty important here. But other than that, look at how beautiful it is. Very good. So we've got our glorious Jewel Scarable sketched out. Now, somebody had mentioned to me, they said, we just want to see them all. And I can go ahead and do that. We could just go ahead and look at the sketches and see which ones you have interested in for the next time. Today we're about an hour in. We probably could pick one more if we wanted. So let's look and see what you guys think. And I wanted to start from the back of this book because this is where my class sketches are. And so you might find things we haven't seen before. This was a sketch with students of a tortoise beetle and then a mantis fly. Although I think I have a mantis fly specimen that is outlined. This Brachymena, so this is a rough stink bug, and our friend here, the Jerusalem cricket. I actually think the Jerusalem cricket is definitely one of those insects I'm going to end up with an ink outline of, but I'm not sure if it's going to be this sketch or another one. I've got a couple of them that are up in the runnings. We have our giant resin bee here. I think the giant resin bee is interesting for its textures because it's setose or fluffy around the thorax and the abdomen. But then once you get into the abdomen, A2 and 3, it becomes very punctate, and the size of the punctures changes on the areas of the abdomen. So that would be a really interesting one to do in ink. The tortoise beetle one will take forever. You are totally right. So we probably don't have time to do the tortoise beetle one just tonight. I don't like this cicada. Sometimes I draw cicadas that I like. Sometimes I draw cicadas that I feel need work. They're one of those insects for me that every now and again they work and every now and again they just don't. This is our friend a click beetle. Oh, he's so cute. He has these, I had even written on this for students. He has these punctations that are in a line, that are in lateral lines along their backs. A yellow jacket. And we sketched the head from head on. That was fun. And this was actually us talking about the difference between a beetle and a true bug, because sometimes people need to kind of see some basic illustrations like that when we are looking at trying to determine the difference between the two. Green bottle fly. Dung beetles. This is a really awesome ant. This is actually a harvester ant species. It had these very, very two strong spines here that looked like they would kind of fit into this node. I had Cetos hairy down here. And we had these setae that lined along the edges of the abdomen. I actually think that this one might be a decent runner for sketching. Susan, you're so funny. You think that my cicada is just an excuse to look at more cicadas? Maybe. I think personally what I want is I want the cicada's legs to be fixed. I think that they might be too small for my specimen here. And I do believe that I have a better cicada sketch. Ooh, we could do frog hoppers versus leaf hoppers, and tree hoppers and plant hoppers. We had one day where we went over all of the different hoppers, and we did all 4 of them, and that was actually a really fun day. We got to talk about the placement of the antenna. We got to talk about the hind legs and how the legs differ. That was actually a pretty fun day. That was back in April. Tiger beetles! This one. This, I think, is my favorite cicada because it has a little more detailing on the legs, and the legs are a little more open. I think that the abdomen is a little bit too segmented for this species of cicada, but other than that, I'm actually most happy with this sketch. All right. Did we see anyone that you thought that you really wanted to sketch and look at for a little bit longer? We will do the damselfly. It's just that wing venation is gonna take me just a little bit too long for today. Let's do the clown beetle. So, this beetle here is in the family. Deb wants to know what was the first beetle we looked at tonight, or the first bug we sketched tonight. Ooh. The first insect that we sketched was this guy right here. It was the brown-banded cockroach, Supella longipelpa. So we talked a little bit about cockroaches, their tibial spines, the cerci, a little bit about their wing type. So that was the first insect we went over. The second one we discussed was this glorious jewel scarab, the metallic green scarab with the really pretty silver stripes on its elytra. Also on its pronotum and its legs, it's that really pretty metallic green color that is a crystalline structure rather than a pigment. So that's what we did. Now, Susan says, I want to know more about plant hoppers versus leaf hoppers. But you're right, it is a little bit much. So here's the deal. Now that I know that is one that you are interested in, I'll put that on the top of the list for the next time we're doing one of these. So when we'll be doing another one of these where we're going over a sketch I've done previously on Friday. So let's go ahead and do that on Friday. So these are hysterid beetles. Sometimes people just call them hyster beetles, but their family name, their entire name is Hysteridae. And admittedly, I have no idea why they call them clown beetles. They don't seem very clownish to me. They are very, very incredibly flat. Somebody mentioned that they kind of look like the shoe of a clown. I don't know if I agree with that. So they are called clown beetles, but honestly, I'm not sure where they get that common name from. And I've talked to a handful of people, and the people that I have spoken to aren't exactly sure. Now, because they are so thin and they're living in between the bark and the wood of fallen trees, I feel like you could almost argue that they fit into the tree kind of like a clown car, because you can see a whole bunch of them underneath the bark in a space that it doesn't look like they should be able to fit. So if you were going kind of that way, I would definitely say go ahead and call them clown beetles. But other than that, they're just kind of flat, really wide, beetles that live under the bark. They do have these really beautiful kind of clubbed antennae. And when it closes in this region, let's see. When it closes into 2 or 3 segments before that club, there are a series of fine hairs on the ends of the antenna. So I'm going to actually add those in here so that we have some of those kind of fine hairs. Coming up into the head region, I love looking and zooming in at the head of hister beetles because you can see pretty much all of the mouth parts. You can even see the labrum, which is the little upper lip. It looks like if you had a bee and you turned it sideways, it just looks like this, like a little upper lip. And then we have these giant mandibles that they're going to be using to chew through wood. They don't have a lot of dentations, or they don't have a lot of like points inside of them. But then we have our maxillary palps here and our labial palps. So we have 2 pairs of palps. These are 2 sets of mouth fingers that are going to help my beetle eat food. And then these beetles, they do have the ability to kind of tuck their head into this prenodal region. So this head kind of tucks in and out like a turtle. But along these edges and these corners, we do have some seedy or some hairs in here. So there's also a part of me, it's like if a beetle kind of pulls its head in and rubs its eyes against these hairs, it kind of reminds me of like a shoe brush. And I wonder if those brushy like hairs are used to clean off the eyes if the eyes have like wood and sawdust or something on them. Now this is another one of those beetles that has very unique legs. They have unique tibia because they are so flat and they need to be able to crawl kind of in between the bark and the major wood of our fallen trees. So they have all of these kind of fun spines and shapes on our tibia here. They have that tibial spur that is actually mobile like a thumb here. And then continuing on. And so that's going to be the same. We've got the femur. And on this one, I actually had the ability to see the trochanter. So it looks like I pointed it out to the students when we were looking at it. The trochanter is a segment in between the femur and the tibia. And it's going to help the tibia rotate against the femur. Kind of like how the kneecap helps our femur and our tibia. This is almost like a kneecap, but except it's between the femur and the tibia. Right here, these are our elytra. And then past the elytra, this is actually where you can see parts of the abdomen. And our abdomen, honestly, it looks kind of funny. And it has a variety of segmentation deck here, but this hister beetle is so black, it's so dark, that sometimes it's hard to see all of the characteristics. Now, this cut in here is not another segment, so I don't want it to connect all the way through like I have it in pencil. This is more like, it's like a... It's like a line in the exoskeleton rather than an actual segment that can move. right, so I think we have the head, the pronotum, our elytra, our right set of legs here taken care of. I think we've got what we need to sketched on our abdomen here. Deb wants to know if our histobeetles are going to be feeding on dead or live trees, and my histobeetles are going to be found in already dead trees. You're not going to find these beetles attacking live trees. Now, well, okay, so the only time you would find these beetles in a living tree is if the tree was already kind of half rotting. So you could possibly find this beetle in a tree that was still standing upright if the tree had rotten sections and the wood was rotting through. These beetles would still climb up into it. But a lot of times they're definitely going to want to wait for the tree to fall on the ground. That's also going to be easier for their babies to have access to the soil, because I believe when their grubs want to pupate, they leave the wood and then they dig themselves underground. He's so cute. All right, I'm pretty happy with the handful of ink lines that we've done today. There are a couple areas that I definitely want to touch up where it was a little bit lighter than I wanted it. Let's see, that was pretty good there though. Little bit of pencil right here. Get off my ink lining. Uh-huh. Oh, and hey. Interesting. So that's the plan. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have been live streaming for about an hour. We got 3 sketches ink-lined. We got to talk a little bit about each of these insects. We got to see the Crassina gloriosa over the microscope. Now, our Wednesday and our Friday sessions are not the same as a Thursday and Sunday where we go in and we zoom in and we look really closely under microscopes. But I think that these are fun just the same, kind of going over some of our older sketches. Now, I believe I actually have an identification for this histobeetle up here. I'm going to look it up to make sure that that's right, because I wrote it so tiny. Yep, that's right. So, our species for our histobeetle is written really small. My guess is because these were probably younger students, so I didn't want to confuse them with all the Latin. But I wanted it on my paper. So, the species name on our histobeetle here is Hololepta aequalis. Alrighty, so ladies and gentlemen, I think I am getting ready to head off. I'm curious if you have any more questions, comments, concerns about bugs or other related topics. I do want to give a shout out to Invertober one more last time. I super appreciate everyone who's been out here and supporting me and coming and watching their live streams every single night. They start at 90% of nights. Today we were about 10 minutes late, and I apologize for that. We're gonna try to not let that happen again. So today is Wednesday, and on Wednesdays and Fridays we do this. We go ahead and we look at old sketches that are done previously for us, and I turn them from our pencil sketches into an ink line drawing. Hopefully these ink line drawings that I finish up, if we get enough of them done, I'm going to smash them all together and they're going to become a coloring book. And so that will be awesome to see. Saturdays, we spread death's head sphinx moths. So if you are curious about seeing how to spread moths or wanting to talk to me about collections or collection management, you can join us on Saturdays. Sundays and Thursdays, we draw brand new insects, and those are live streams that will continue even after Invertober. Mondays, we're doing live animals, and next Monday, we are actually going to be meeting my chinchillas. And so I know that they're not invertebrates, they are mammals, but we're going to love them just the same, and we have a little bit to talk about with them too. So, and I just want to say thank you, ladies and gentlemen, so much. I feel so much support from this community just when you guys come and when you show up and when you ask me all of these wonderful questions, and the fact that you're always here to chat with me about bugs. I really super absolutely love it, and that you're understanding about whenever I accidentally overnap a little bit and miss the first 10 minutes of my own live stream. You know, it's great. You guys are so supportive. So, thank you so much. We are going to continue Invertober at 10 p.m. Eastern every single night of October, and whoa, we're almost halfway there. So this was episode 12 of 31 Days of Invertober. So, this is my live stream closer. Many of you have seen it before. If you are a regular, you'll be like, oh yeah, and then every now and again you change the background, of course. But for Invertober, I figured we'd keep it kind of firefly, dark spookiness. Up there is your reminder that I do teach on a platform called OutSchool. It is for students ages 5 to 8, 9 to 12, and if you have a bug lover in your life and you want them to meet other bug lovers, it's the perfect place to go. So, I teach a weekly insect studies and a junior bug club where students can meet other bug-loving students from all over the world, and we talk about a new insect every week. That is your reminder to subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a subscribe button down below, and make sure that you also hit that little notification bell if you want to be notified when I go live every night. Yeah, you want those notifications because you want to know when you can come and see me and ask me all of the bug questions. Now, that right there is the, QR code box. Just in case you would like to leave me a tip. And if you've had a great time listening, hanging out here today, if you took some information away that you're going to be sharing with your friends, I don't know, you can go ahead and send me a tip there. Those tips are used and they go towards insect-related, insect collection materials, live streaming materials, pens, so that I can make sure I stay up to date with Insectopia. That is always appreciated. Now, if you are looking for @Insectopia and you can't find me on social media, that's because I'm actually at Insectopia 2015. Alright? That 2015 is important, especially in Facebook and in Instagram, because in both of those places, somebody else took Insectopia. So we're going to see if we can win it back. But I think we have to have a couple more followers before we can steal it back. Alright. Yahoo! Thank you so much. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your night. Tomorrow night, we're going to be looking at a brand new insect under the microscope and zooming in really close and going ahead and sketching it just like how these live streams started. So, I hope you all have a wonderful night and stay buggy. Bye!